Hello, I'm Jeremy Burchardt and I'm the PI of Changing Landscapes, Changing Lives. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about what our network hopes to achieve and how we're going to try to do that. The basic premise of the network is that landscape matters to us in deeply personal ways and that our identities are profoundly um, affected by landscape, but this really is very variable and that different individuals, different families, different communities construct their landscape narratives in different ways. And there's a kind of problem in that, despite the fact that landscape is such a kind of highly kind of personal thing, and there are so many different overlapping identities which are bound up with it, these don't mesh necessarily very easily with landscape decision-making structures. So the network brings together several key landscape stakeholders and leading researchers across a wide range of disciplines to try to find ways to integrate personal and community narratives more effectively into UK landscape decision making. The network has three key aims. So in the first place, we want to try to connect different disciplines and using biographical and narrative perspectives as a way of doing that, given that these perspectives have attracted a lot of interest from different disciplines in recent years. And we're particularly concerned to try to connect the sort of more empirically based disciplines such as history with some of the kind of more theoretical disciplines. So, for example, that applies to sociology, rural sociology, some geographers, but also then with kind of the natural sciences. And we want to promote dialogue both between those different academic traditions, but also between academic research and landscape stakeholders, ultimately with a view to developing better concepts, paradigms and models to inform better landscape decision making. We're fortunate to have a very wide range of disciplines, as I mentioned, represented on the network, including agri-environmental studies, anthropology, applied ecology, art theory, cultural geography, heritage management, history, landscape architecture, literature, museum studies, and planning. And we've also got a wide range of key stakeholders, including the CPRE, representative from DEFRA, the Museum of English Rural Life, National Parks England, the National Trust, also New Forest National Parks Authority, Bristol City Council, and artists including Ingrid Pollard and Land 2. The core of the network is the 5 symposia that we're hoping to hold, although at the moment it's a bit uncertain whether at least the first of those may have to be virtual. So all of these are intended to bring in a wider range of voices into landscape decision making. So the first one focuses particularly on trying to adopt a kind of a more sensitive approach to age in relation to thinking about landscapes. The second one is particularly focused on ethnic diversity in relation to landscape decision making. The third one looks at the ways in which landscape change can affect people's lives, and conversely, the way in which changing values can affect landscapes. The fourth one is focused particularly on the ways in which creative and heritage practice can help us to incorporate a wider range of voices into landscape decision making, and that will be based at the Museum of English Rural Life. And the fifth one tries to bring things together. We're going out into the landscape. That will be held at Wood Green Village Hall in the New Forest National Park, with a view to thinking about how some of the ideas and concepts and frameworks that we developed during the project could be applied potentially to landscape decision making, and potentially even kind of developing kind of tools that would allow us to do that. And to reach a wider audience, we're going to have blog and an open discussion board and website, and a number of other kind of outputs, academic and non-academic. We've chosen the themes for each of the 5 symposia carefully to engage closely with the interests of the stakeholders participating. So, for example, the first symposium which is focused on different ages and landscape and relates very closely to the National Trust's recent concern with children and landscape. And similarly, both the CPRE and the National Trust have been working very hard recently in relation to increasing diversity, and the second symposium relates closely to that. So each of the symposia engages closely with concerns and needs of the stakeholders. We also think that there's huge scope beyond that for ongoing collaborations, which we hope that the network will generate. Thanks very much indeed.